Well, Ruslan gets back on his show and he has a video entitled Female Preacher Exposes the Dark Side of Church Dating. Oh, so sinister. So sinister. And the female preacher, she exposes how tough it is for a 30-something girl out there to find a good man. It's tough. It's tough out there for her. But I think there's some underlying things that she probably needs to learn, and I don't think Ruslan's willing to tell her these things. So more bad advice or no advice from Ruslan here. Let's go to the video though.
I think I said this on the panel. It's just like, hey, I know too much of who I am to settle. You know what I'm saying? Or
don't
like,
settle, girl.
Look at it like, man, I made it this far. Like, it is not worth just tossing it out, the cheap way. Yep. Like, you just I have to, just as much as I'm gonna believe God for healing, I'm gonna believe that He'll send the right man at the right time.
So she says, hey, I'm not gonna settle. This girl, if you listen to the video, she's 32 years old. She's a preacher, but she's a good Christian woman. You know, maybe theology a little aberrant there on who needs to be preachers in the church. I think the Bible's clear on that. That should be the men. But anyway, but she's having a hard time. She's having a hard time finding a man. You know, she's 32, still hasn't got herself a man yet. I'm assuming she wants a good Christian man, but she's not going to settle. Now, maybe that's part of the issue, is that nobody is good enough for the preacher woman out here. Nobody's good enough for her. That could be part of the issue. Let's go on in the video, though. More problems that she sees on the Christian dating scene here.
The church have to take responsibility for like idolizing marriage and making that the ultimate goal of like, well, I serve God, I serve in church, I love him, I follow him. Marriage is next on the plate. And then when it doesn't come, then we end up with disappointment. And so I do think marriage is something that we should, if we feel like that's something we want to do, for sure, but it doesn't make me less of a person because I'm not married. And I think sometimes
we serve a single savior.
We do. Yeah. For sure. Jesus died without being married.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing point. I do think that most people want to get married.
For sure.
Most people want to have kids. It's optimal to have kids within a marriage. And so I think that you're right, but I also think that there's a degree of like, this is literally how our species continues.
No, and I agree with that. But
yeah, Ruslan says, hey, this is literally how our species continues. Yeah, no duh. Okay. No, but she says, here's the problem from the female preacher here. Here's the problem. We in the church have a big problem because we idolize marriage. We make an idol of marriage. And I say, I'm not sure that the numbers bear that out exactly anymore in the current year. So in 2014, in the United States, we crossed a threshold that we've never crossed before, where we have more single people than married people. And I think that's probably around the same in the church as well. There's more single. So people wait until nationally, I think they say about 28, 29, 30 now is the average when people get married. In the 1970s, it was almost closer to like 22 or something. Now it's almost 30. And probably another 10 years, it'll be past 30. So she's saying we idolize marriage in the church. And I'm saying, yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sure that the statistics bear that out. We have more single people than we've ever had before. And people are waiting longer and longer to get married. Case in point, she's 32, but she's not going to settle. She won't settle. All right, let's go on real quick here.
I am not less of a person because I am single.
Absolutely.
And if we even think about like sermons, sometimes they are always shaped around husband and wife.
Yep.
And majority of the church is single sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
So she says she hears so many sermons that are centered around married people, but the majority of the church is single. Could there be a problem there if the majority of your church is single? Are people just not willing to settle? Maybe that's the issue, Miss Preacher Lady. Maybe that's the issue, that people have been told. Now, actually, let me rephrase people. I think it's the women have been told, you go, girl, don't you settle. You're God's daughter. You need, I mean, darn near Jesus to marry because you're God's daughter. Don't you settle for less. And you get to be 32 years old and you're still going, where's my man? Well, I don't want to make an idol out of marriage, even though where are all these people that are making an idol out of marriage? If there's so many people that are single, she even says it. The pastor's up there preaching about marriage and half the church or more than half the church, most of the church is still single. Isn't there a problem with that then? Maybe there's some people who should just settle. And by settle, maybe they should settle down and get married to a good person, maybe not a perfect person, but maybe a good person. I mean, this one, I can't, if she's 32 now, not to get too personal, but she looks like, she could lose a little weight. If she wanted to get married, I mean, come on, everybody knows that men like somebody that's slim. So if you're looking to get married, you probably want to slim down. And if you're not willing to slim down, I'm not saying you got to be Victoria's Secret, model woman, but if you want to get married, and especially if you're getting along, the time's ticking, blah, blah, 32 years old, well, maybe slim down a little bit. I mean, is she feminine? Is she agreeable? Is she fun? Is she, would a man be interested in you? This is Ruslan. He's just, I mean, you could see he's just kind of looking bald, Oh, why not ask a few questions here to this girl? I'm sure she's a good Christian woman, but maybe, well, I mean, are you feminine? Are you slim? Are you agreeable? Are you positive? Are you things that are just traditionally, feminine traits that men want? Maybe ask a question. Here's a big one. Do you know what it means to be a wife? A wife is a job description. It's not just a title. It's a job description, being a wife. There are duties that come with being a wife. Have you prepared yourself to be a good wife? Maybe you'd have a better chance of getting married and not settling for a bum if you're preparing yourself a little more for marriage, if that's your goal. And I hope it is. But all these people out here single, not getting married, she is not willing to settle. Now, the problem with not to settle, just one more thing, that comes straight from feminism. That's straight from feminism. You go, girl. Don't you settle for less. And it's the Christian feminist. Well, you're God's daughter. Don't you ever settle, blah, blah. Now, what man in the church gets told, you go, dude, you never settle for less. You get what you want. You make the list and you don't settle. Blah. I think most guys in church are told, boy, you're just lucky to find somebody. You better just get down on your knees and thank God that you found somebody to marry you here, right? I mean, that seems to be kind of the attitude with the men in the church, but the women, don't you ever settle. You go, girl. And that is why sometimes I say marriage is for the elites. Marriage is for the elites because the average guy, I mean, boy, the woman's just going to have to settle for the average guy. He's just going to have to settle. Well, I guess I finally had to settle. I got to be 42 now. And well, I got to settle. So anyway, we got to get this corrected. We got to get this corrected in the church because even with all that being said, Christ is winning. He is building his church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.